All right, today we're going to unpack a really powerful essay by Mahatma Gandhi, one that's over a century old, but somehow manages to put our entire modern way of life on trial. We'll be digging into his philosophy using an educational text that asks a question that feels more relevant now than maybe ever before. I mean, it's a question a lot of us are asking, right? But way back then, Gandhi offered a pretty startling answer, one that completely flips the script and prioritizes spiritual growth over just accumulating more stuff. So, the text we're looking at was actually written as a guide for students, and it sets up this huge contrast between two completely different ways of living. Let's just dive right in and break them down. Okay, so first up is Gandhi's really sharp critique of what he called modern civilization, or Western civilization, which for him was basically all about worshiping the material. You see, for Gandhi, the whole foundation of this way of life wasn't about real progress. It was just pure materialism, a system that he believed completely ignores the soul and our own moral well-being. He saw this core problem that was just baked into its very structure. This constant intentional drive for more things, more comforts, and more wants. And honestly, he saw this as a really dangerous road to go down. And this wasn't just some casual observation. Gandhi saw this multiplicity of wants as a kind of trap. It leads to this state where you're just constantly unsatisfied, no matter how much you get. Yeah, the source text itself defines this key word, insatiableness. Gandhi believed this is exactly what happens when you worship material things. You're left in a state that, let's be honest, sounds a lot like modern burnout, doesn't it? So if that's the problem, what's the solution? Well, Gandhi looked to the very foundations of Indian civilization for the answer, and it was an answer rooted in stability and inner peace. So unlike these materialistic cultures that kind of rise and fall, he saw India's real strength in its stability, in its deep-rooted principles of moral conduct that have lasted for centuries. And he called this foundation the sheet anchor of our hope. It's such a powerful phrase, right? It suggests that this is what gives you ultimate security and stability, especially in a world that feels so turbulent. And this slide, this really lays it all out, doesn't it? You can see the fundamental clash Gandhi was talking about. It's a total clash of values, focusing on inner contentment versus just endless outer accumulation. This is a question that's actually posed in the original text, and it really gets right to the heart of Gandhi's whole philosophy on what a truly happy life is all about. And here's the crucial point. They understood that a person's state of mind, not how much money or stuff they have, is what really determines their happiness. You know, a rich person can be absolutely miserable, and a poor person can be perfectly content. So to make this point completely unforgettable, Gandhi used this simple but incredibly powerful metaphor that just perfectly captures what it's like to be human in this materialist world. Wow, I mean, that just nails it, right? It perfectly illustrates the whole problem of infinite desire. Feeding the bird, or our wants, doesn't calm it down. Nope, it just makes it hungrier, and it never ever leads to peace or satisfaction. So the logic here is almost the complete opposite of how we think today. Giving in to every desire doesn't actually tame the mind, it unleashes it, which makes real, true contentment basically impossible. So where does all this lead? How does it all build to a guiding principle for a meaningful life? Well, it all comes down to this simple phrase: plain living, high thinking. So instead of endlessly trying to get more, Gandhi argues that real happiness, true civilization, is found in consciously limiting our wants. It's an idea that you can totally see echoed today in things like minimalism or even digital detoxes. And that's really the key takeaway. It's such a simple phrase, but it summarizes an entire philosophy of life, one that's all about focusing on inner richness and moral growth over just piling up stuff on the outside. And so Gandhi's century-old essay leaves us with this deeply personal question for our own very modern lives. Lives that are so saturated with the endless scroll and the constant promise of more. What does enough really look like?